Time for our predictions with the American and National League. We'll start with the American League.
Oh, okay.
I didn't prompt you ahead of time for that, so sorry. Get your mindset.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
This is the American League is just to me is far. It's got so many better teams overall in each division that are going to be competitive than what I see in the National League. When I look at the American League, I look at enjoying the Central and the West, and I just give up on the East anymore. I'm so sick of it. My wife's an Orioles fan. I sort of like the Rays and what they've done, how they build up organization.
Well, yeah.
But you've got the Yankees and the Red Sox that just spend oodles of money, and they don't make it. It's not competitive.
Well,
for
but our assignment here is to assess and break down the baseball season, and I think if you're going to do that, you have to look at the American League East and say that might be 3 of the best 5 teams in baseball might be in the American League East.
Yeah, I know I digressed there.
A lot of people really like the Tampa Bay Rays, and they kind of had that what a young team often has, that kind of fallback year last year. But they look like a team that could really be special. I think the kid from Vanderbilt, is it David Price? I think he's got to emerge as really a top-line guy, as a guy on the same order of, I mean, he's not going to be as good as Halladay, but, that number one stud type guy. And I think if he does that, they've got a lot of good young talent, and they could be right there. It wouldn't stun me for the Yankees to finish third. It really wouldn't stun me.
When I was putting together what I thought might for this division, I almost did that with the Yankees, but they went out and tweaked the lineup enough with Granderson. Nick Johnson's going to bat second. He's on base, but he'll get hurt. He always does. But if he stays healthy, he's second. They're just too good. Somebody's going to have to knock them off first. So I'm going to say the Yankees. My sleeper team was the Rays. I really think they're going to have a good year. But again, you got the Red Sox in there, and they just beat up on each other. I feel bad for the Orioles. And the Blue Jays, do they still have a team?
They do, as far as I know.
The other 2 divisions. My favorite division is the Central because it's always so wide open. It seems like those guys in that Central Division in the American League, they stay within the salary confines. They all sort of have about the same amount of money they're playing with, and they seem to be similar. And it seems like it's very competitive throughout.
Well, actually, Detroit has spent some money in the last 4 or 5 years, but I see what you're saying, and you're right. But
there's a competitive balance that seems to be there. I do like Detroit. You mentioned that. I do like them to sort of bounce back. Again, you talk about teams I like. Good managers. The Rays had Madden. Leland, I'm a big fan of. But I like their team. I like their pitching staff. And I also do like the Twins, but I don't know. My intangible there, and again, good manager. I don't know what's going to be like in the new ballpark. They're going to be outside, so April's going to be cold. September,
well, also
October.
they're completely without their closer at the start of the season for Joe Nathan due to a fairly serious injury. So that's going to be an issue. I like Detroit a little bit in that division.
Let's go out in the West. Let's go get warm.
Well, the West, Seattle is a really interesting team because the new Moneyball now. The original Moneyball thing was on base percentage and just overall offense. The new Moneyball is defense. That's the new thing where people think they can fool people on talent and get talent relatively cheap. And Seattle, that's what Seattle's trying to do. They're an experiment in this sort of new way of thinking about baseball with defense, and they have the best defensive fielding. I'm talking about the best defensive fielding team in Major League Baseball without question. And they're going to be able to throw, Cliff Lee and Felix Hernandez. Yeah. They're not a very good offense, but they're a really interesting team because they're going to be so built around run prevention. It almost reminds me of the New York Jets in the NFL last year. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do, and I'm going to pick them to win their division because I have been waiting and anticipating the Angels dropping off for a while now, and I'm going to guess that without John Lackey, maybe this is the time.
Just in, Rex Ryan is coaching the Mariners this year. I like the Mariners and what they've done in the offseason. They still have Eric Bedard, who's not healthy yet, but they're going to be able to bring him in the mix come May. Yeah. But they got Milton Bradley batting cleanup for him, and he's just this big time bomb. He may have a good year because maybe he won't get the media attention.
It's a bad offense.
Until somebody beats the Angels, I'm not picking against them. I said that to you last year, and they went out and won it again. Great manager again. Sosa just does the right stuff, Mike Sosa. I still think they have a good enough pitching staff. Bobby Abreu is underrated. They've got some good players there. They'll be fine. I'm taking the Angels.